Thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. I'm Dr. David Pendergrass. A while back, I went to a debate between William Lane Craig and Sean Carroll. William Lane Craig is a world-renowned Christian philosopher and Christian apologist. That is, a defender of the faith. He's a great guy. Another guy named Sean Carroll. Sean Carroll is a brilliant scientist. He teaches at Caltech, and I never heard of Sean before, or Dr. or Professor Carroll, whatever. I never heard him before until the debate, and I went down. I don't live that far from New Orleans, drove down there, me and my precious bride, to watch the debate, and it was great. And I understood about half of it, because boy, was it talking about quantum theory and all kinds of stuff that it was way outside my specialty. But I loved it. I'll tell you what, Sean Carroll, the atheist, was just a delight to listen to. I mean, he really was. I would love to have him as a professor at school. He was smart. He was really funny. He was quick on his feet. And anyway, I just loved to have him professor. I told him that afterward, too. We met him at the table, and William Lane Craig's line to sign the books was, 50 people deep, and Sean Carroll, at the beginning, had about 0. So I think I might have been the first person to go up there and thank him so much for coming, and I learned a lot, and it was awesome. But he said something in the debate that I want to talk about now, and this is a very common thing to be said in the theistic and atheistic discussion. And it goes something like this, and he said this in the debate oftentimes. He said, as specialists in the field, I'm not quoting here, but this is basically what he said. As specialists in the field, as scientists, when we go to these professional meetings, we can have, hundreds or thousands of hours of discussion about physics and cosmology, the beginning of the universe, and how the fundamental laws of nature work, and nobody talks about God. Nobody does. And then he went on some to other things, and how basically the point is you can talk about it without bringing out God. And of course, this was an implicit argument against Bill Craig, who was saying that scientific evidence points toward God, or rather it gives scientific evidence that supports a premise in his argument. But it was the comment that they don't talk about God at professional meetings. And my thought was at the time, it used to be, oh man, that's true, that's right, how do they do that? But then, of course, I guess I got over that. But now my thought is, when I hear those things all the time about you can talk about science and we don't need God to do science, which of the new atheists, they call them these days, maybe now it's time for new atheists because the generation is growing up. But the Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens when he was alive, and Sam Harris and Dennett and others. But it's a common charge. My response to the idea that professional scientists have discussions about the cosmos and not talk about God is, of course not. Of course they don't. That makes perfect sense. I don't expect them to. That's not what they're studying. So that's great. And it always makes, I'm not being this mean, but it always makes me kind of laugh, because that's not a slam or an argument, and he didn't mean it this way, but when I hear other people say it, especially on the critical scholarly world of YouTube comments or whatever, that settles it all. That scientists don't find God, therefore he's not there, and so forth. It's funny to me because, of course, it's just silly, but I always think of this analogy. I've thought this for a long time and thought I'd put this in a podcast. If you came with me and you came to my house and we were chatting about my house and so forth, and I said, hey buddy, here's what I'm going to do. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get 100 top-notch scientists around the world to study my house. I'm going to bring in the very best plumbers, the very best physicists, the very best, everything, chemists. I want them to analyze every working part of my house. I want them to break it down, and I want the most comprehensive book imaginable about every force at work in my house. I want the chemists to tell me exactly what every material is comprised of, how the atoms are designed. Their structures are designed and so forth. I don't mean designed. I mean in that kind of Christian way. I mean how they're what they look like. Their structure. I want the plumbers to tell me about Bohr's law. I want to talk about how the water does this and that, and on it goes. Okay, when it's done, I want the most comprehensive book you can imagine. I want everything that happens within the house and the house structure to be explained. Absolutely. And as they're working on that, they come up and give you a big fat book. And then you, my friend, come up and say, hey, Dave, I have a question for you. I'm a realtor. How about that? Well, let me ask you a question. Where did this house come from? And I look at you, I don't understand what the question is here, and I give you this big fat book. And in fact, matter of fact, all the scientists hear this, and they come around the conversation, and they circle around, and they get disgruntled. So what are you talking about? And the realtor says, well, who first designed this house? I mean, where did it come from? And the scientists go, what are you talking about? I mean, we have been looking, and we have spent thousands of hours on this house. I mean, we have just broken down to every conceivable minutia. And at no time did any person, not anybody, ever talk about where the house came from. What a stupid question to ask. Where did the house come from? That's moronic. The realtor might say, I don't understand, because the house is here. It looks like it was supposed to be here and to be lived in fact. So where did it come from? I mean, that is to say, do you think this was kind of a random thing? The scientists say, again, I don't understand the question. See, I understand you're making an interrogative statement with English language, but what you're saying makes no sense. It's just stupid. As scientists, we don't need to ask the question, where'd the house come from? Or was it designed for someone? We gave you a 10,000-page book to describe everything that happens in this house. And because we have fully explained how the house functions, we therefore do not need to posit where it came from. Now, my realtor, might say, that makes no sense at all, because by explaining the functions of the house does not mean it has been here forever. And even if it were, it doesn't explain to me whether or not there was a person who designed the house. I mean, it looks to me that bathroom was put right by that place on purpose. It looks to me like the bedroom is there by the bathroom because the way humans work and so forth. I have every right to make the inference. Now, modern-day new atheists, if they were the scientists, would say, see, this is the problem. This is the problem. Let me ask you this, realtor. Where is the person who designed the house? Where is he? Where is she? And the realtor says, I don't understand what you mean. Well, and the scientists say, okay, let me say it one more time, because I know you're kind of stupid. I know you're slow, realtor. I know you know what? It's really not your fault, realtor, because you grew up, your parents are realtors. You grew up in a culture where people all around you are realtors, or they've been influenced by realty. And they like to think that everything's designed and that houses have designers, and that they need to have some kind of agent explain where they came from. So let me make this real simple for you. Where is your objective scientific evidence that this house was built by someone and designed by someone? Where is it? Because realtor, I don't mean to think you sound like you're an idiot, because you are a realtor, but I'll be nice to you as much as I can be. I'll make this real simple. We have analyzed the house, and there's no evidence that this house has a creator of a designer of the house in the house. We've analyzed every atom, every wall, every floor, every window. There is no fingerprint. There is no hair follicle. There's no message in the walls that says designed by Bob. So, realtor, why would you believe that? This, to me, my little parable analogy, I know you understand this, is exactly the kind of scenario that we have today when people demand, as someone did not too long ago on Twitter, on my Twitter account, demand implicitly that I give this person objective data from within the so-called house. It is a absurd proposition. It's just simply commonsensically absurd to demand of the realtor that whoever designed the house be a part of the house itself. That's just absurd. Nobody believes that the person who designed the house is made of brick and mortar and wood and air conditioning coil. Nobody believes that. And in fact, if you did believe that, you have some serious psychological disorders. Nobody who believes in classical theism, nobody believes that the God who actually exists is part of the house. is part of the universe. That seems so commonsensical from without and then inside my worldview that I don't know else to say. Nobody believes that. Remember what the Russian cosmonaut who went out to space and he says, I'm paraphrasing here, God's not there because we didn't see him. To that I say, amen. I don't believe in a God you could see out in space anyway. I don't believe in designers of houses that are made of clay and made of brick and mortar. That would be an absurd notion. So, by definition, the God that I believe in, the Christian God, is not in the house. That is to say, not made of the properties of the universe itself. Can the personal agent walk through the house? Yes. Can the personal agent go around and walk in the door and say, oh, would you like to know why I designed it this way? I was thinking this. But to answer the question of why it is the way it is, you need to encounter a mind to tell you why he or she did it that way. That's the very best way to discover where the house came from, is to go meet the person, the mind that designed it in the first place. And in the Christian worldview, we suggest that you can, in fact, meet the God who designed the universe. Even if the universe has been here forever, for all eternity, which I don't think it is, and it's virtual consensus amongst all scientists on the planet that it is not a past eternal universe. But even if it were, I still need to explain it. Why is there a house in the first place? Nevertheless, I'm not surprised when scientists spend hundreds of hours, thousands and tens of thousands of hours debating about how the house is designed. I'm not surprised that they don't ask who built the house in the first place. They don't need to. They don't need to. That's not what they're studying. And to ask the question, why is the house here, and why is the house designed this way, and why does it look like it was built in such a way to be perfectly for life to live here and be protected from the elements and so forth, is a good question. It's a commonsensical question. But new atheists make the question itself sound absurd. What a stupid question to ask. What kind of idiot would ask the question where the house came from? I just gave you a book that explains all the constituent parts. Why would you ask that kind of question? To me, it's not stupid at all. And I'm not going to give you another analogy, but to give you another analogy, if I came upon a vehicle and said, I wonder who designed that engine, and a mechanic said, what a stupid question. We know how engines work. Therefore, there is no designer of the engine. That could not be more illogical. So, I'm going to keep asking the question. Who designed the house? Who designed the universe? Why does it look this way? Why does it exist? And I want scientists to continue to study the universe. I want them to. I love it. I love cosmology. I love learning. We're just asking different questions. God bless you. See you next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's Glimpse of the Kingdom. If you want more theological reflections, go to davidpendergrass.com. If you want me to come out to your church or to help your organization with consulting, go to davidpendergrassconsulting.com.